Hello everyone, Onerous here with another Factorio beginner tips video. This one's going to cover rail signals, which is something I see a lot of new players struggling with. And in essence, rail signals are quite basic. The thing to remember is the signal always looks on the right hand side of the train. And what it is doing is looking ahead and seeing if the path between it and the next signal is clear. So we'll see here, this signal is green because this next block here is empty. If we pop a train on there, you see it turns red. This one's still green because ahead of it is clear. And that is all that rail signal does. Where people start to get confused is with rail chain signals. And we'll see here, we put a rail chain signal here. Now what it is doing is it's not just looking at the section ahead of it, it's also looking at the following rail signal. So in this case, obviously we put one here, our chain signal goes red. But not only that, if we pop a train here, this rail signal goes red because its block ahead of it is occupied, and we'll see the chain signal also goes red. So that is all that chain signal does, and we can actually throw in a whole stack of chain signals and they will just keep looking at the next one. So this one will look at this one, but this one is looking at this one, and this one is looking at this one. So if we pop a train right at the end here, we see they all turn red because this one looks forward to this one, and this one's red. Oh, this one's looking forward, so it's red. This one's looking forward and to this one, so it's red, and so on and so forth. And likewise, if we put one in the middle here, we see these two go red, and that one doesn't. So what is the point of rail signals? Well, here's a little setup here. If we don't have rail signals, we get those kind of things. We get trains just running into each other. As soon as you have an intersection, obviously that is the worst case scenario. And if we pop some train signals here, don't be confused by the double-sided. This is a two-way, so it goes back and forth. So you got to put on both sides. So as we see here, that stops him from going ahead. And that's just all with rail signals. Now, the reason why we use chain signals is because if we have this section blocked here and we've got a rail signal, this guy will just keep going forward until this section. And that then causes him to stop in the middle of the intersection, and this train then can't get through, and suddenly your whole network is backed up. So to get past this, let's just turn these trains off. To get past this, this is where the chain signals come in. So a chain signal will look at the section ahead of it and the following section. So if we put chain signals on all the incoming lines here, and now we run it, we will see, again, he'll stop, but now if we put a locomotive here, this guy stops before the intersection, and this one here is free to continue on, and even though this lane is blocked, the other way is fine. Alright, let's just switch these guys off. So when it comes to a two-way, so a single lane with bidirectional travel, so if you're traveling both ways, you put signals on both sides. And in this case, we would actually do that. So the general rule is chain in, rail out. So as it's coming along on this moving left to right, we come to our first chain, and then right at the end is a rail signal. And likewise, coming back the other way, we start with chain, and this will just allow them to go through only when all these sections are clear. Not so important on a single track that's going both ways, but generally you're only running one train anyway. Same goes for two lanes, one track each way. You just got to remember to always line up your rail signals on the right hand side of the direction of travel. So here you'll see the carriages sort of marked out where the train will stop before the rail signal, and you just want to make sure that that is aligning in the direction of travel. Now, things obviously get more complicated with a chain signal arrangement at an intersection, and this is where the chain signals are designed to stop trains for, in this case, so a train could come in here, go straight through, or it can turn up. If it turns up, you do not want the train to turn up here and have to stop here and then block traffic coming the other way. So, chain in, and then when you get to an intersection like this, all you do is you start with one direction of travel and then just signal it. So let's say a train's coming in from this bottom left and it's going straight across to the right, just keeps going straight. So we have a chain in, and as it exits the intersection we have a rail out. Now you'll also see there's a tiny little section in between here that has a signal opportunity, and the rule is if there's not enough space between these two signals for your train to stop, then you need to put in a chain signal. It doesn't really matter honestly where it is, because with the size of the train, nowhere in there is it going to be able to stop. So that is a train going left to right. And you see this one's flashing because there's actually a lack of space, a lack of direction from over these other ways for this to really know if that's free. And it's a good way to know if your chain signals aren't set up correctly, or you're missing one, or you've got an extra one if it's flashing. So let's have a look at the other direction that this train can go, which is up. So again, we have a chain signal at the start. Along here we can break that up into a section. There's no, because of the sort of how close these rails are together, there's actually no place in here to put a chain signal. And then we get to the out where we have a rail signal. And now you'll see this one here, this chain signal here is now stopped flashing because the blocks have resolved in a way that it now knows there's no ambiguities because this signal here has been added. So that's trains coming in this way. Next direction trains can come is over this way. So again, if one's going straight through, we just have a chain, rail, and he's out. You see there's a spot here for a chain signal, and we'll put it in there and we'll see what happens. So the other direction this guy can go is straight up, and again we don't want him stopping in there, so like so, and we'll see that's stopped this one flashing. We've got trains, the other direction trains can come is down this way, and they can go across there, so let's get him a chain and a chain. Now notice here that this is actually connected to, this signal location is connected to two lines. If you hit R, or whatever your rotate button, R by default, it'll swap between which track it's actually connected to. So we want it connected up to there to stop that. And again, this section here, there's no locations for a signal, so we don't put anything there. And then he comes to this rail signal out. And then the last one is down this direction, and we have a chain, and a rail. And now you'll see here, this one is flashing. Now why is that? That is because it can't really distinguish between trains going sort of around here or through here, because we haven't been able to fully segment off this large blue area. And in this case, it just means it's doing nothing. We remove it and everything will still operate correctly. You could space these out a bit more, maybe separate these two tracks width-wise a little bit more. But what we've done here will ensure that no matter where we put a train, so if we pop a train in there, we'll see immediately, of course that is not the direction of travel. As it goes along, we see this guy couldn't go further, but these ones along here allow travel. Once he gets into here though, it blocks off all sort of travel in that direction. And as you can see here, it's also blocked off travel up in this direction, and that's because This block, remember, goes from this signal all the way to here. So this section of track is actually reserved by this train essentially, and that's why, even though it looks like there is space for a train to travel up here, this is reserved, and therefore the train has to stop here and wait for this one to clear. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of insight into how rail signals work. The key just to remember is the object of a rail signal is to tell a train whether the track ahead of it is clear and it can move on, and a chain signal is just looking ahead of itself to see if that section's clear, but then also looking at the next rail signal or next signal on the track to see if the following segment is clear as well. So hopefully that clears things up, and if you've got any questions, I'd love to hear them in the comments below. I've also got a very beginner-friendly Let's Play, Let's Learn Factorio Together playlist that the link will appear at the end of the video, and of course if you love the video and want to see more content, I'd love for you to click the subscribe as well. So thanks for watching, and get back playing Factorio.